Hi, this is Mike Oppenheim, and you are listening to Coffin Talk, Interviews with the Living, a weekly podcast that explores how our views on death affect the way we live our life. And today we have Christine Malek. She is the founder and creator of Sassy Coach, a motivational speaker and an international advocate for women against abuse and domestic violence. Welcome to the show, Christine. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mike. I am doing awesome today. Thank you.
Awesome. I want to get into Sassy Coaching and what you do. And of course, I also want to ask you about your opinions on death. But I think it's important for our audience to get a good idea of who you are. So we usually ask, how old are you? Where did you grow up? And what generation, if any, do you think you're a member of?
57. 3 absolutely beautiful children, 2 boys and a girl. They are adult children. They are 30, 31, and 35 this year. I have 2 beautiful granddaughters and a grandson on the way. Where did I grow up? I spent 26 years in Pennsylvania, just outside of Philly, Allentown, and then 30 years in Florida on the East Coast. And then I'm here in Knoxville just a little over a year.
But that's cool, and I'm very happy to hear about your adult children. We're experiencing the opposite end of the beautiful spectrum of life, I suppose. I like to just, drop the tone from light and fluffy to as deep and dark as we can go. So, of course, I also know from your background that you're not just involved in advocacy for women against abuse just because you happen to like the subject. Do you mind telling us the story of kind of how you got into all of this?
Are we referring to the really, really dark one?
Unfortunately, the really, really dark one. Hey everybody, I just want to thank you so much for listening to the show. Our numbers keep growing and we have a premium package, and it would really help us out if some of you loyal fans would head over there and sign up. You get bonus monthly podcasts, you get a book I wrote, and you also get extra essays and other content. So please head over to mikeyop.com, that's MIKEYOPP.com, and sign up today.
Yeah, that's okay. So, backstory. I was married, I think 2 or 3 years. Started as a whirlwind romance. Came in, the knight in shining armor, the knight on the white horse, Prince Charming on the white horse. He came in, did everything right. Within less than a year, we were married, and that's when things started to change. He is extremely narcissistic, along with being abusive. It was probably a good year and a half. Let's see, we got married in 2013, so this was about 2015. Because of the abuse, the only way for me to deal with not only all the childhood traumas that I went through, but to deal with what I was dealing with him was to drink. And he was a heavy drinker just as bad. So the only way for me to deal with it was to drink. And we drank. I mean, like fish, we drank. It was not pretty. I can proudly say that I just celebrated in August. I am 6 years sober. So we had been drinking one night, and we had gone fishing throughout the day. This is down in Florida. We had gone fishing, probably drinking at the river and at the beach. Came home, was drinking. We were both drinking more, and it didn't matter what it was that set him off. Something set him off, and my initial reaction, because I had had enough throughout that day, was I broke down and cried. And the last thing any woman of abuse wants to do is cry in front of that abuser. I got up from the sofa, went into the bathroom. I actually sat on the toilet backwards with my arms on the tank, head in my arms, trying to stop the sobbing and the slobber and the crying and keep everything as quiet as possible, because I knew it would set him off. I made the mistake of closing the bedroom door. There was a pocket door between the bedroom and the bathroom, and he heard. And when he came down the hall, like I said, we were both drunk. When he came down the hall and got to the door for the bedroom and realized it was locked, he was pissed. We went into total rage mode, screaming, yelling, hollering, everything possible, cuss words, calling me names. I heard him stomp out to the garage and heard the door slam, heard the garage door back open, slam again, and I could hear him coming down the hall, and 1 or 2 huge, loud bangs. and he busted through the door. Basically, he got a sledgehammer, a huge sledgehammer, and pretty much took the door off the hinges. Huge hole in it, totally unrepairable. Came in, and I'm still sobbing and not really. I'm not looking at anything other than in my arms, crying. And I heard the nightstand open, and I heard the gun cock. And at that point, I was fully prepared to say, just take me out. I was fully prepared to go. I want at that point, and because so much had happened leading up to this, I wanted to die. I had attempted suicide twice with this man. I had attempted suicide throughout several of my youth years because of other childhood traumas that I had gone through. So I was fully prepared. Just take me out. So I heard the gun cock, and he came over behind me, and he's 6 foot tall. I'm sitting on the toilet, and I felt very heavy, the barrel on my head. And I was like, just do it. Just do it. Pull the effing trigger. He's yelling at me, screaming at me, taking the gun and slapping me upside the head, putting it back on the top of my head. And I turned to my left, and that was my breaking point. That I was fully prepared at that point. Just do it. And I turned to the left. I said, pull the effing trigger, you blank. You ain't got balls big enough to do it. Pull the trigger. I'm so done with this. Pull the fucking trigger. Just pull it. You ain't got balls big enough to do it. Pull the trigger. And he did. And two thoughts immediately went through my mind. And it was, I'm not dead. And, I'm not dead. There was one of happy somewhat and one of disappointment. And I kind of looked up, and I saw this huge quarter size. It was a .40 caliber gun. It was my gun, actually. And I saw a huge quarter size hole in the wall in front of me. And it's a gunshot right on my head. I'm wondering, how am I even alive? And I could smell the burnt hair, burnt flesh. It's a smell you never forget. I couldn't hear because of the gunshot itself kind of, went deaf, but I could tell that he was screaming in the background. And at that point, I didn't care. I didn't care. Nothing he said mattered anymore. I could still hear the ringing in my ears. And I just sat there. And he's screaming and yelling. And at this point now I can feel the blood trickling down my head. And I was numb, just completely numb. After those two thoughts, that was it for a moment. So he got done. I heard, one of the last things I heard was, see what you made me do. He put the gun away. I heard him stomp out. I heard him sit back down on the sofa. I could hear the big tequila bottle get picked up. I could hear the glunk, 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 pour the shot. I heard him take it, put the shot glass down. I could picture in my mind what he was sitting, how he sat. Nowhere was there any care, concern. I didn't get cleaned up. I didn't do it myself. I sat there in disbelief. Like I said, just numb. Like I said, more blood is trickling down my head. And I thought, well, I could take that gun and finish what he couldn't, and put the gun to my head and pull the trigger. Second thought, I could take that gun, have 12 shots left, go out to the living room and commit justifiable homicide. Would it be justifiable? I mean, those are the thoughts that went through my head. And, even now I think about, how do you think about stuff like that when you've just been shot with a .40 caliber gun? And how did you survive this? That was kind of an afterthought. Like, why am I still alive? But the only thing I thought at that moment, those moments after, was kill myself or kill him. And I thought, if I can't get away with justifiable homicide, because he wasn't attacking me at the moment. He was sitting down on the sofa. He was already done. The damage was done. I am alive. Do I have a right to actually pull the trigger on this mofo? And then my kids entered my thoughts, and I had one granddaughter at that time. And I thought, do I really want to be sitting across from, a glass or on camera or in a jail cell trying to explain to my children what I did when I tried to teach them their whole lives to do the right thing and the wrong thing and what the difference is. And I just sat there and the blood's kind of, coming down my neck, over my ear. I didn't even really think about that. I didn't even think about the wound. I had no idea how none of those, my care was nowhere in any of my thoughts. I could feel the blood, but I didn't know how big the wound was. I know, obviously I could smell the hair and I had really long hair. So it was a lot of hair that got shot off and burnt. I looked at the hole. I looked at the, back at the cabinet. I think I went into a state of shock because I don't remember a whole bunch more after that. I do remember waking up the next morning in the spare bedroom, dried blood all over the place, dried blood on the pillow. And it was like it was a normal day, like nothing ever happened. And I went into the bathroom and I cleaned up and I tried to, how bad, you can't see the top of your head unless you have another mirror, and I didn't have that. So I have no idea what the top of my head looks like. And the day went on and nothing changed. Nothing, you get so numb to everything that had happened. And he acted like everything was normal. I got a few more of those, see what you made me do kind of looks. Never uttered another word. Everything was fine. I just vegged. I just zoned out for a day or so. That was when I said, okay, enough is enough. I am not this person. I have taught my children to do the right thing. I have tried to do the right thing myself. I'm a good person. I help people. I volunteered for my kids at school. PTA and Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and I was always the one that said, I'll help. I would give my neighbor my last cigarette. I would give anybody my shirt off my back to help somebody that I thought needed it more than me. But at that point, I was like, that's enough. Enough is enough. How did it get this bad that he pulled a gun on me? What did I do that was so awful? How do I fix this? And that was kind of my moment where I got to fix this. How do I get out? Who do I talk to? Where do I go? Do I talk to kids? And that's another one of those misconceptions that women of abuse go through, that we think we don't have anyone to talk to, that we think we can't talk to. And how embarrassing is this? That, our husband did this to our significant other did this to us. How can, I've always been that sassy woman. My kids will tell you that. So to go from being that sassy mom and the sassy friend and the sassy wife and, all those strong, independent qualities that I have had and have developed over the years, how did it get this bad?
First of all, it's hard to not want to force people to hear this story, to hear what I call like the rock bottom part of like bargaining with God. This moment that I never, my first time ever, I was 36, and I'd lived not a fantasy life, but I remember distinctly, it just, how could you do this to me? How could this be done to anyone? And so I am curious, what the turn was, how did that all convert out?
In 2016, I ended up in the hospital because I had said, either put me in the ground or put me in the hospital, which is why you and I are talking right now, because this is my path. This is where I need to be. You just said it. I feel compelled that I have got to tell my story, because if I tell my story, hopefully it gives that one woman out there, that's all I want, is one woman to say, oh my God, if she can get out of that situation and I can hear how great life is for her right now, I can do this. I can do this. I can get out. I can make a plan. I can do this. So back to the story. So about a week before, maybe 10 days before I ended up in the hospital, we had one of those really good days. We went fishing. It was a good day. And I couldn't even tell you if we caught fish or not. Okay. We had spent several hours on the river. It was a great day. We came home. We both had been drinking, but there was no abuse whatsoever. I find myself extremely sick. I think it's the flu. Vomiting, diarrhea, chills, fever, my fever, I think, spiked at like 104, 105. Okay, my kids are now going, Mom, what the hell's wrong with you? I don't know. It's just the flu. I'll be fine. My youngest son comes to me a few days later, and I've been almost a week, I think it was. He's like, Mom, if you're not better by tomorrow night when I get off work, I'm taking you to the hospital. At that point, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not getting better. Nothing's staying down. It's coming out both ends. There's nothing left anymore. The fevers, the chills, the whole night. I really thought it was the flu. Now, remember, this is back in 2016, so we didn't have COVID. So my son comes, picks me up, takes me to the hospital. I'm wrapped in, all kinds of PJs and then a robe and a blanket and everything else. And then halfway through, I'm like, now I got the sweats, So we get to the hospital, and the nurse wants to take my blood pressure. She goes to my right arm, and I'm sitting down in the chair. My son, he's got this look of crap, after all the crap that Mom's been through, now this, So the nurse is taking my blood pressure, and she finally, pumps up, comes down. Next thing I know, she's putting it on the other arm. And I'm like, okay, pumps it up, waits, reads it, comes down. She said, Christine, let's get you into a bed. I'm like, what is going on? She said, let's just get you to the bed. And I said, what is my blood pressure reading? She's like, 70 over 50. I said, so what you're saying is I shouldn't be coherent, I shouldn't be conscious, and I shouldn't be walking and joking about this, right? She's like, let's get you to the bed. Come on, right? Next thing I know, he sends in this guy. He's kind of dressed in no scrubs, no doctor kind of suit, pair of jeans, button-up shirt. I'm thinking, whoa, nice looking guy, really young, probably 30s. I'm in my, by then I was, I think, late 40s, early 50s. So nice looking guy. So he's like, Christine, what's going on? I said, well, so he, kind of pokes around. And of course, they've drawn blood and this and that and taken everything. I've got IVs in me now, still in the emergency room. And they go out, they do a quick little consult. The two doctors come back in, and he said, Christine, I'd like to do surgery on you, exploratory surgery, and see what's going on. I said, okay. And then he said, I want to put you under. I said, okay, when do we want to do this? Like now? Like we should have did this yesterday? I'm like, oh, that's serious. My humor just came out. I couldn't help myself. So he says, yeah, I'm going to get you prepped, and we're going to get going. I'm going to do this surgery right away. Now, remember, I said, I had said several times to my, God, angels, whatever it was that I was believing at that point, either put me in the ground or put me in the hospital. So, I get out of the surgery, I get better, and he comes in and he's like, it's not cancer. I said, all right, doc, where do we go from here? What do we do? Well, I really want to open you up. I said, what do you mean open you up? Open me up. He said, well, I want to, I'm going to basically go in here, which is like right between the rib cage, just under the breast, go all the way down, open me up and see what in the hell is going on the inside. I'm like, oh. He's like, I'm going to schedule you for first thing in the morning. So I go in for the surgery. I'm scared to death. They go in, they open me up. They basically spread my stomach apart. I had my appendix, gallbladder, part of my colon, part of my intestine, and my whole left fallopian tube removed, gone, out. I get out of recovery. That was a trip. I'm finally back into ICU and kind of coming out and everything else. And hours had passed. I guess I don't even remember how long, Mike. But I do remember the surgeon coming in, and he came in and I looked at him. Now I got IVs all over the place. Both arms. And he said, Christine, and I looked at him because I could tell he was serious. He said, if you take one more drink, you will die. And I was like, at that moment, I said to myself, that's a theory I don't want to ever test.
So after all these experiences that you had, how are you today when faced with the idea of death? Like, what would you tell people who are concerned about death? What is your philosophy?
I can't answer for anybody else, but I will tell you for myself and me personally, I'm divinely protected. So I have no fear of death. I look forward to the day that my mission here and my purpose on earth now is fulfilled and I can go on to whatever that next phase of my life is, whether it be, coming back in another form or 6 feet in the ground. And I don't think that's where I'm going. But that's my belief.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. Does that ever wane, or is it just like through thick and thin, it's just now a part of you?
It is now just a part of me. I like I said, I have no fear of anything. I mean, like I could go stand out in the middle of the road, and I know I'm protected, because my mission, my purpose is not fulfilled yet. Now, not that I would actually do that. I'm not saying that, I'm not crazy. I don't want anybody to get any, weird ideas about it.
No, I wouldn't expect that. But I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, I think, I like to have people on from all sorts of different walks of life. So sometimes we have people who, for much of a lack of a better word, we call survivors, and you're obviously one of them. And I especially appreciate what you said about women of abuse and not abused women. And I understand that on many deep levels. And I think it is like something I'm always telling friends, because I had to get out of a bad relationship once in a divorce, is that no one's going to outright just tell you what to do. And you're not going to get a lot of support because you're trying to hide things and you're trying to keep your together. And, so I think what is your like last little piece of advice for anyone who just might have like an inkling based on hearing this interview, like, oh, wait a second, maybe I'm not in the situation I thought I was in. Do you have any advice for that like first thought person?
Yes. Talk to somebody. Find somebody to talk to. If it's not me as a coach, find somebody. Go in and talk to a priest. The police station, your school, your work. Somebody that you feel comfortable with. Talk to somebody. That is the biggest mistake that we make as women of abuse. We keep it inside. We don't talk about it. We don't bring it to light. We don't say, "Hey, this is happening, and I need help." Those 3 words are the hardest words in the English language to say when put together. I need help. But they make you the strongest person in the world when you can say that.
Wow, that is such a great way to send us off. I completely agree. I still think they're the 3 hardest words I've ever had to say and will ever say. And Christine Malek, you're an incredible person, you're an incredible human, you're an incredible role model, you are incredible. To everyone listening at home, obviously of most concern to all of us is please love yourself and make sure that you're in a safe place, and if you're not, find someone and say you need help. And thank you again, Christine. This has been another episode of Coffin Talk. My name is Mike Oppenheim. The best way to support the show is just to head over to mikeyop.com and sign up for free to the once a week newsletter that comes with the podcast. We love you all, and we will see you soon.
And I feel that you're near me and I sing.